Jim, this isn't crisp. They'll come for you.
Phil, they know what you're planning. You shouldn't have dug up that document. You need to get out of town now.
EE. Leave the past in the past, ma.
Oh, I think I found it. Hey, it's me. It was right where you said it would be. And it's got every... Oh, I gotta go. I gotta go to the safe house. Alright, get the hell out of here. The people, they have to know. Whew! Risked a lot to get my hands on this, okay? I don't have much time. I feel like people are catching up to me, but I got a tip about a Smash manifesto which contained information regarding 10 things, both shocking and humorous, that the Smash community might rather have forgotten. Now, honestly, folks, I'm not in the business of just ignoring things that are right in front of me, okay? If something needs to be said, then damn it, I'm gonna say it. And I now have the platform to do so. So we're gonna go ahead and go through these 10 things, and you can decide for yourself if it's better forgotten or just a humorous memory at the end of the day. Scouring through the notes, the first thing I noticed was Inui actually being on the list in here. It's actually funny because a lot of you mentioned that you would like to see more coverage of Inui from my last video regarding banned Smash Bros players. Believe it or not, Inui was actually more than just a choke doll for Unknown at the time. This is a man who once claimed to be a doubles god, albeit by the fact that he's able to drive Mewtwo into tournaments and force him to team with him. He, regardless of that fact, still found the results, okay? I actually remember in Brawl, he was part of one of my favorite teams. Him and Adamus dominated for quite some period before they had a falling out at the time. However, he truly did give us gems, things like Inui logic, stating that if A player beats B player and B player beats C player, then that must mean A is greater than both. Iconic to say the least. This man was responsible for hosting Apex 2009 in his father's hotel at the time. Not really sure what happened to that. And aside from all that, the man gave us some of the best Johns and excuses you could ever ask for. See, you might lose in tournament simply to no sleep. This man lost because he climbed a mountain the day before. A whole ass mountain. Now, New Jersey is actually what used to be Inui's stomping grounds. However, that all changed. Now, there's a lot of rumors to why he actually ended up going to Wisconsin. The main one being he was actually falling for some boy whom he met on All Is Brawl, which I can only recall going by the name of. But regardless of all that fact, Inui actually ended up getting banned from the Wisconsin Smash Bros scene simply because he would brag and sell methamphetamine. I mean, that doesn't seem such a big deal, right? I'm sure that kind of coincided around the time of Breaking Bad, and maybe he was just a big fan of the show, trying to get a cameo. You really never know with something like that. However, he would eventually return to Wisconsin, which ended up being a violation of his parole. This was not the only brush of the law that Inui would actually end up having. Sometime in 2017, he was in an altercation with a guy who was apparently messing with some of his stuff while Inui was in between homes. However, Inui was not in between weapons. This man took out a samurai sword and slashed the guy's thigh, okay, being charged with assault with a deadly weapon, but nonetheless protecting his stuff. It wasn't actually too out of this world, the fact that he would have a weapon like that on him, but the fact he was able to use it really proved this guy was more than just a Walter White enthusiast, okay? He was a samurai prodigy. Now, will he ever come back to the scene? Well, that's only a question that time will tell. I don't know if he's actually officially globally banned. I don't believe that's the case, so him, his sword, and controller could be popping up at a tournament near you. Next up on this manifesto is actually going to be the Chu Dat Chronicles. Oh my goodness. To understand the Chu Dat Chronicles, you first have to understand the man Chu Dat. Now, he was infamous in Melee, okay, being one of the best Ice Climbers players to ever do it. If you have a favorite player, it's likely Chu Dat got a victory on him at some point in time. Also in Brawl, he was an amazing Kirby, really pioneered and revolutionized that character single-handedly. But for all those amazing accolades, he had some secrets dwelling in that mind. Now, the Chu Dat Chronicles were basically just a written document of things that went on throughout Chu Dat's mind, as well as things he had done It was a collection that made some people cringe while other people just wanted to do a bit of a scientific study on him. Now, I was one of those people who was kind of caught in the middle, but I do remember waiting for those daily uploads and really getting a good kick out of it. Mainly because most of it was just him being batshit insane. Now, I've never found anything that he typed within the Chu Dat Chronicles to be harmful. It was just hilarious. I remember references to hairy butt cracks, muscular women, the fact that he could read minds and even control them at one point, it felt like, perhaps even having a bit of a future sight, and of course, things done with veggie oil that no chef with morals would ever condone. It was enough to really turn you from a yes to a hell nos. Now, sadly, the Chu Dat Chronicles, apparently, they've been scrubbed from the internet. I mean, you just really cannot find a document. Any links or traces that I had to reference and reread and familiarize myself with the full extent and details of this have been absolutely just purged from online. I'm talking about I went to the dark web, okay? I pulled a J station, okay? I was in that looking and nothing. So truthfully, we'll never really get the full extent of the Chu Dat Chronicles again unless Chu Dat himself decides to release them. But it's one of those things that truly should not be forgotten. Now, next thing on this list I'm going to discuss is actually going to be the shady past of some of your favorite tournament series. Now, of course, Apex probably comes to mind, but we've covered Apex enough. We already know the drama with Alex Strife. I'm talking about this time of Genesis and Pound. See, although these are iconic installments in Smash's history for events, and they have been proving grounds for some of the game's finest, they've also had a little bit of a tarnished past on some of those events. When we look at Pound, I'm talking about Pound 5 specifically. This is the event that took place in Crystal City, and it was one of my favorite events of all time, okay? And maybe that's for the fact that I didn't place in the money, but as it turned out, nobody placed in the money outside the amateur bracket where the money was collected there. That's because Plank unfortunately bet a little more than he should have on the fact that these Smash players would fill up the room blocks that he promised the hotel. You see, what we actually ended up doing, and I am guilty of this too, is we would stuff 4 to 6 people in a room at the time. It is what it is, okay? You got people showing up with trash bags and suitcases, okay? This right there should have been a red flag for the hotel staff, okay? And it probably was, but at that point, what could you really do about it? The fact of the matter is, Plank ended up taking the money from the prize pool and paying off the hotel so he would not go bankrupt, go into debt. And really, while you could understand it, people like PPMD, they were like, yeah, I was really happy to get the win, but I understand I'm not going to let it tarnish. People like Ally, who actually ended up winning, and Anti, who was second place, they were none too happy about the fact that they were not going to receive their money. This created a big controversy, and I think it actually sparked the first blacklist on Smash boards, and Plank's name, I believe, was etched as #1, regardless of the fact he did get on there. However, to his credit, when Pound 2016 was announced, the TOs who took over the event, along with Plank, had some nice partnerships, and everybody who did not get paid out for Pound 5 was inevitably reimbursed and actually given free entry into the next, restoring Pound's legacy, as they actually just completed an awesome online event. So big ups to them. Next, we'll shift over to Genesis. Now, this is a pretty infamous story right here. I'm talking about Genesis 2, okay? This is coming off the heels of a very successful Genesis #1. Now, I didn't actually attend Genesis until Genesis 3, okay? But if you attended Genesis #2, oh my goodness, if you placed in the money, you were in for a surprise. Zelgadis, one of the founding members of DBR, which stood for Death by Redacted, actually stole prize money. I believe it was upwards of $6,000, just took it and just dipped. Now, Zelgadis was hailed for being a little bit ahead of his time, especially his combo video. It was really good, Shine Blind, but little did people realize he was actually robbing them blind. Now, eventually it was figured out that Zelgadis actually took the prize money. The police were called, and throughout an investigation, he finally confessed and gave the money back. He would actually come back years later, nearly 5 years, to let people know exactly what happened on that fateful day. He was in a bad headspace. It was a misunderstanding. He truly regretted his actions. But at the time, people were simply pissed, and it seemed like the Genesis legacy was going to be tarnished forever. However, to their credit, nearly 5 years later, Genesis would announce Genesis 3. I attended that event. It was absolutely amazing, and the DBR staff and Bobak himself obviously got their strong reputation back. They've had nothing but successful events through that point. However, it just goes to show you, while the past can often be made up, it's hard to forget. Next up is none other than the infamous bracket manipulation at MLG DC 2010. I was actually in attendance at this event, and it was hype as it gets. And oh my goodness, but you gotta wonder if this was one of the contributing factors as to why Smash Bros. Brawl never returned to anything MLG. So this situation actually involved Mewtwo King and ADHD. Apparently Mewtwo King was not confident that he could beat ADHD in Losers Finals. Both had actually been knocked into Losers by Rich Brown, a very promising and prominent Olimar at the time. Basically what ended up happening, despite despite Mutakin being the favorite to win the event, considering he had won, I believe, the past 2 or 3, he wasn't sure he could beat ADHD in losers final. So this actually prompted him to ask ADHD if he wouldn't mind splitting. ADHD told him to go ahead and just play out the set, which made a lot of sense. ADHD would inevitably beat Mutakin and then double eliminate Rich Brown to take the MLG DC crown. Now, it was reported afterwards what happened here and how ADHD had agreed to give Mutakin $300 for these unfolding events. Apparently, MLG would find out about the split and proceed to ban both Mutakin and ADHD from the championship at MLG Dallas 2010. Now, Mutakin actually denied up and down that he didn't lose on purpose. Okay, he said he tried his hardest to win, but a bad controller was just something that was kind of holding him back. And although he still wouldn't mind the fact that he could get the $300, it wasn't something that happened beforehand. These were just potential scenarios, but nonetheless, some of the community was not too happy with it, and it was obvious that MLG was not. You know who was happy though? G-Ness, okay? His black ass will go on to win MLG Dallas, and along with it, $12,500. Either way though, I can't really fault either guy for what happened. I mean, that was a large chunk of change. I mean, you compare it to even prize pools right now. I mean, that's still like top of the crop as far as I'm concerned, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you got events like Evo running around. No disrespect, please hire me again. But the point remains the same. I get where they're coming from, but man, that was definitely something a lot of people would probably rather forget. But I actually found it pretty humorous. I remember just being there at it and watching the match transpire, and I was just like, is this guy trying? Turns out he says he is. Was he though? We may never know. Next up on this list is actually a story a lot of you might not be familiar with. You might have heard whispers, okay, but I'm here to confirm that it was actually true. Yes, before he was the Buzz, okay, the man who whispered to dolls, he was the Buns, the man who held down some cheeks. Picture it, sometime along Brawl's lifespan, somewhere in that timeline, there was a Smash Fest being held at, I believe, Vinny's house. Now, Vinny, of course, he was a very popular Ice Climber, a Game Watch player in Brawl, and of course, you all know he had some success in Smash 4 with Sheik. This was a very talented individual, as was the Buzz, we all know this. But this man wasn't good with just the C-stick, alright? He could use his own stick pretty well, as they would all find out that fateful night. Now, the girl in question who would actually end up getting debopped from the Buzz was none other than a girl who had been involved in a bit of a tug of war with Inui and Mutakin. I mean, these two were just kind of going at it for her affection, stuff like that, and she just ends up with the Buzz. So not only did the Buzz end up securing the cheeks in this situation, okay, several eyewitnesses whom will not be named, but do confirm he got it in Vinny's brother's race car bet, okay? I'm talking about this. Now, this man was racing to get those cheeks and he succeeded. This is why I've always had a high level of respect for the Buzz. You know him for Lipo mode, okay? I know him for piping it right, okay? Because that man was somebody who was determined, and he took that determination, okay, from the bedroom to the grand stage, okay? And that's why he has so many accolades, and why you should probably go check out his Twitch channel and ask him about these events, and he'll let you know he's not one to be trifled with. Well, guys, that's been 10 through 6, okay? So are you ready for the top 5? Well, let me tell you something. What the hell is going on? Hey, get the hell off of me. The people need to know. They need to know.